Nice and easy.
Nice and easy. We are live indeed. So I want to just welcome everyone to Sláinte, the small mini series, episode 2. And this is with Anthony from Irish Whiskey Auctions. So
Sheehy. Anthony Sheehy.
Anthony Sheehy from
Sheehy.
Irish Whiskey Auctions.
Yes.
Yes, indeed. And are you having a wee drink just now, Anthony? What's in the glass?
I am. Do you know what I have got? I've got a sample of the John's Lane cask strength.
Okay.
John McDougall, Ian Garrett gave it to me, and it's phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. It is an absolutely beast. And we had that at the festival last year, exclusive. Yeah. That's when it started. That's when it kicked it off. People were like mesmerised by the fact we could have John's Lane cask strength. So, yeah. Well, I'll kind of join you just now. I'll have a Redbreast 12-year-old cask strength. That's we'll have that.
Very good.
We'll just crack one open. We'll give that wee tiny wee distillery a wee plug.
God knows they need it because the marketing's not great.
I don't think anyone buys this stuff. No one. No one. There's so much of it online. No one obviously wants it. No one wants to drink it. So yeah. Okay. Love it when we've got some people join us for the chat. So there's Dave Cummins. We are headers. I'm not sure about that. I'm a header. I think Anthony's a gentleman.
Absolutely. Dave Cummins, I will not have you casting aspersions on my relatively sane character.
Dave's a header though, eh? Can we say that? Can we say that?
Mad as a box of big hairy cows.
He loves the cows though. You ever see his little videos? Ever see his wee videos and he's in the marketplace and people are buying the cows? Absolutely love those wee videos. Nothing to do with the dingo whiskey. Just great to see, cows being sold at auction. Yeah, this is stunning. I love the 12-year-old cask strength.
It's so easy to drink, and again at the price point it's at, Paul, you can't bypass it.
No, you can't knock it, and it is just a delight. And you know what? This is batch 116, so this is one of the older ones. It's the one I'm a go-to guy. I probably have about 10 of them now, and I've just gone through them. I've probably used in the last year maybe 10, 15 of those bottles specifically. I think they're great. I think they're so good. They're so good and they're great. I want everyone to taste it. I want everyone to fall in love with it. Okay, here there's Tim McKee.
Have you a favourite of all the batches?
Yeah, batch 116. Batch 116.
Yeah, that seems to be everybody's favourite.
116 is 100% by a shadow of a doubt the best. And you know what? They're all good. But this just tops it.
Again, as I said, at the price point, you just can't.
Yeah.
You can't ignore it.
No, you can't. Anthony, I have you on very early on in the episodes because, quite rightly so, you have been a massive supporter of the festival, a massive supporter of Belfast Whisky Week. And if it wasn't for Irish Whiskey Auctions, probably last year's event probably would not have gone ahead. And I think that a lot of people say, oh, Paul, it's you. It's really not. There's a lot of people behind the scenes. A lot of people have made it work. So what we need to keep on reiterating is who has made it work. And Anthony and the team down there, Katie, every single person, even people who maybe don't like me down at Irish Whiskey Auctions because of the grief that I bring. Is she there? That's good because she is the bestest. You tell her, bestest. She's jumped out the road because she's camera shy.
Yeah, she doesn't do videos or anything like that. She is very camera shy.
No, but we've had a good relationship. I probably sent you to the hospital a couple of times, maybe having palpitations, maybe you've been having a little bit of stress, maybe you've kind of grown more grey hair if you can grow any more hair on that head. And yet you have still managed to have patience with me. Patience, and that's been very good. And we got through a very difficult period, getting boxes at the right time, getting them, fulfillment going through yourselves. And you know what? You did not disappoint. We've got people on here. When I saw Tim McKee's name pop up there, less than 24 hours from a box from all the way from Dundalk all the way into East Coast America. Unbelievable, unreal. In fact, it was quicker. Correct me if I'm wrong. Quicker to get a box to Tim McKee than it was to get to Derry. or it was to get to Galway, or it was to get to Glasgow. So we have, we're astounded by that, and a lot of people had to eat some words. A lot of people had to eat some hats and all those kind of things, because a lot of people said it wouldn't be done, it couldn't be done, and yet we did deliver. And yet it wasn't me. I don't think it was me. It was yourselves that delivered. And you know what? I want you, Anthony, to talk a little bit about where you've come from in the last couple of years, because we've had early conversations before the website and before the auctions took place. But tell us that whole journey, because I love it. I'm besotted by that journey.
We had, I think we met you at Belfast Social, the first year of Belfast Social, 2018. And I think we'd only come into existence at the time. We'd our first auction in October 2018. And I remember telling you what we were doing, and you were aware of us. I think we might have had even a chat on social media. But I presumed you and everybody else thought, who are these lunatics, and ideas of grandeur, and they were going to create this auction site. And again, I often say to people, there was a lorry load of naivety for us at the time, because we just thought, how hard can it be? That's, me and Katie's motto nearly in life has been, how hard can it be? You want to do something, just do it, and what the hell can go wrong? But it was a challenge. It was a huge challenge, and it still remains a challenge. I mean, we had an auction that just ended on Sunday night there, our biggest ever auction, and it's just the work that has to go into it, the logistics, the management, and make sure the right people get the right bottles and pay for the right amount and all that sort of stuff. But I was literally, how it all began was, I had an idea. We bought a bottle that got seized by customs, as what many people are experiencing now with that Brexit word. And I was talking to Stuart Quayle above in Mulligan's, and sort of said about the bottle being seized, and he said, it's a shame that there's no auction site in Ireland. And I went, it is, isn't it? And then driving home the road, me and Katie talking about it and chatting about it, and I thought, well, yeah, why isn't it? It's bizarre. And I would have known if there had been one, because I've been buying whiskey and collecting whiskey a while, and we thought, I came home that night, the 21st of January 2018, and created the Facebook page and Instagram and Twitter, and started telling everybody there was going to be this fantastic auction site, and everybody went, yeah, right, dead on. And I got interrogated a bit and called a few names, but we pulled it off, and it works, and it seems to work. But it only works, no different than your project. It only works because everybody rows in behind you. You could be the busiest man in Belfast promoting Belfast whiskey, or promoting whiskey, full stop, not just Belfast whiskey, but whiskey. But if nobody else engaged with you, then you'd look like an idiot. And so be the same with us. I mean, it's all well and good. We built a platform and all that, and we know we've challenges with the platform as it stands, and we're trying to fix that, and we're working on that. But I mean, again, without bottles to sell, we'd have the prettiest looking website in the world, but nothing to sell on it. So
yeah, you have done rightly. I think my first physical meeting. Yeah, we met in the social, and I think before that, we'd had a call. And we'd done some social media chat. But I think I just love this idea that you wanted to do it. You were just like, I'm going to go and do it, and I kept on saying, you know what? There's all these ones in the UK. There's a couple in Europe. Which I mean, but it would be great to have something here. I would love it, to happen here, because it actually reinforces my vision, which is that more people in Ireland need to grasp Irish whiskey, because Irish whiskey is appreciated around the world, and it really is, and it's sold around the world probably more than it is, sold here locally. And having other platforms to talk about Irish whiskey, to have other platforms to allow whiskey to circulate, and particularly for those that are collectors and those that want to open older bottles, that want to see older bottles come out of people's cupboards, auctions are great for that, because you've got wee biddies who are like, here, listen, I've got stuff here, give it to the grandson. The grandson picks up and goes, I don't drink whiskey. It goes off the auction, and all of a sudden Paul's buying the bottle and it's getting cracked open for Belfast Whiskey Club members. Yeah. That to me is is why auctions are so important. You know, so when we looked at some of the, you know, and you know, back for the last two festivals, when we look at some of those tastings we've had, well, they've come from auctions. Those bottles have come from auctions, and it's only because I've been able to go and source that pre-1980s, pre-1970s, you know, bottles that, you know, from auctions. It's only way to be done. Going to a private collector and asking them to, you know, give up their whiskey collection, that's impossible. Yeah. Doesn't happen. You know, it's only when, you know, only when people realise they've got something and want rid of it because they don't have any use for it, and it comes up in auctions. Now, there's a lot of people who are taking advantage of the demand for certain whiskies, and that's great. And again, fair play to those that manage to run out to Tesco with their club card, you know, with their Tesco club card, and get some points and grab a 2020.
Are you referring to a specific brand there, Paul?
Well, I don't talk about you know, the name that's 2020, and then, you know, they managed to do that, and here, fair play to them, and I think it's exciting because you talk about your last auction being your biggest. Your problem here, Anthony, is that every auction has been your biggest and your biggest and your biggest and your biggest, and that's great to see, because you're garnering people who wish to sell the whiskey, but you're also garnering people who wish to purchase the whiskey. And there's a lot more people now purchasing secondary bottles. People are looking at the market thinking, is this something I want to try? I want to get into something, you know, different. So maybe they've been Jameson drinkers most of their lives, or they've been Black Bush drinkers, or they've been Redbreast drinkers, and they're seeing a whole new market of Irish whiskey coming through auctions, and they're going, oh, I didn't know this existed, or I didn't know I could have that. So, you know, I think you've probably seen a lot of these, haven't you? You've probably seen a hell of a lot of these. You know, and listen, tonight I'm going to have my second dram tonight is going to be the Ballymorgan 1.1. And what's interesting about this is that this is something whereby a lot of people, my personal opinion is, a lot of people bought this, not necessarily knowing what it was going to taste like, not necessarily knowing what it was all about, but there was a big hype about it. You know, they saw some of these bottles going for maybe twice, maybe 3 times, 4 times. Oh, and magically some of them now gone 10 times the amount they were purchased for. And there's been a massive drive to get them into auctions. You know, I like that. I like that because it makes it available, you know, to other people. You know, so a lot of these were just released in Ireland. Going into auction meant that my friends in the States, my friends in Australia, my friends in Europe could get them. And that's like a lot of people maybe have a really bad conception about this idea of flipping. We're not talking about flipping all day long. We can talk about it, but actually, it actually allows these bottles to move. Someone says to me the other day, "Why is such and such X price?" And I says, "Well, do you know what? If such and such can never purchase that because he doesn't live in the country, the only one place it's sold in the one shop, then he's going to pay X for it because he wants it, because he wants to drink it, or he wants it in his collection, or whatever, you know." So these things are facilitated by the auction. You know what I mean?
And I mean, again, if we didn't exist, or if the auction platforms didn't exist, people would still trade whiskey. It'd just be on a more local basis. And you know, now with social media, I mean, there's groups there with guys swapping whiskies and swapping bottles and buying and selling. And samples is the other great thing as well. You know, that samples is a great way, I think, and I love to see guys cracking open bottles and saying, you know, how can we get this out? Especially with Belfast Whiskey Week, you're tasting, as you said, you're tasting bottles that would never normally be opened and weren't open prior to that.
No, exactly. And listen, we no doubt there's a lot of people who become quite pretentious about whiskey. Yeah, and there's a lot of people who get pretentious about a lot of things that they collect. Maybe they collect gold, maybe they collect jewellery, maybe they collect, I don't know, stamps. I used to be a stamp collector years and years and years ago. And I gave up my stamp collecting and moved on to a thing called, you know, Magic the Gathering, or these kind of Pokemon cards. Moved on to that, collected them.
There's a revelation.
I know, collected them, sold them, got rid of them, and my whiskey collection is just, he's away. I've got rid of them. But you know, I moved on to whiskey collecting as a thing just because it's a hobby. But the biggest thing is that it's about collecting, but it's also about the drinking. So yes, this opening bottles is very, very important. One thing you'll know, and Anthony, you 100% know this, is that I do get excited when I see something on the website. Maybe I chat to you, maybe I say, "Oh, can't believe you've got something like that," because there's a chase now. You know what I mean? You know me, I'm now looking for these pre-1970s bottles. I'm wanting pre-prohibition bottles is something I'll be chasing down, and I've said that because I want to open them. I don't want them to go into private collections. I don't want them sitting shelves. I want to get them open because we're not going to have those chances. The Nepal Castle we opened. So the Nepal Castle we opened in in Belfast Whisky Week there in the summer. The valuation on that. There's only one bottle that we've seen come up for sale in ever. So it's never come up for sale anywhere. No one seems to have a record of it, owning this bottle. And it was a one-off. And Finn in the corner just fell in love with it. It was something truly magical. And seeing something like that being opened, it's only going to have to. It only is possible through an auction that was managed to be brought to the table and we could have it. There's a lot of bottles like that just now. There's a lot of bottles that we are desperately seeking to get opened so people can drink it, because the value of a bottle, for example's sake, and look, we talk about this. This is it's pound for pound phenomenal.
One of the best, yeah.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we can talk about that. Then we've got something which people are paying a lot of money for, which is good, and it's new, and it's fresh, and it's something that should be invigorating the Irish whiskey market across the world. And it will do, and it'll continue to do that. But when we look at the cost of a bottle, say just now, which maybe you can purchase in the supermarket for maybe £100 and something, and all of a sudden it's 400, it's 600, it's 800, and yet, when we look at some of these pre-1980s bottles that are going for maybe £200 a bottle, £300 a bottle, and we're like, here, let's be smart, let's go and chase those older bottles, let's crack them open, get them drunk. Let's find out what all the fuss was about back in the day, And I think that's, someone's just mentioned the 1930s shared tumbles. We cracked that open. Of course we did.
Here's one for you. So in the auction that just ended, and I mean this was a prime example. So there was we reckon it to be about the 1940s, the Middleton 10-year-old. Late 40s, early 50s of the Middleton 10-year-old, a pint bottle, and it didn't hit its reserve in the auction, and we ended up selling it after the auction closed to the highest bidder, and we done a deal with him and all that sort of stuff. But it wasn't far off where a modern bottle is, where a bottle of, say, the MVR 2020, and people just don't have. It's not on their radar at the minute because they're all chasing the spangly things, whether it be the Waterfords, the JJ Corries, the Dingles, the MVRs, the Redbreast, whatever it is, and the legacy bottles, which when they're gone, they're gone. There's no more of them, and when they don't chase them, they don't want to taste them, they don't want to drink them. I've long, talked about the older Middletons out of the old Middleton distillery, old Bushmills, the Millennium malts. I mean, guys spend thousands on the modern Causeway Coast stuff, and yet they won't even engage with the old, the 9 medal and the 12 medal white label stuff. So it's bizarre.
That is a bizarre thing. I'm loving what Proximo are doing. So hats off to Proximo.
Absolutely.
Hats off to what's going on here.
Not long before time.
Yeah, exactly. Reinvigorating Bushmills. However, for those that don't quite understand the history here, you could maybe go back, 20 years, and we had something very similar from Bushmills. We had a series of whiskey which went out as single cask offerings to lots of different venues across the world. Went to America, went to Europe. Those single casks are still out there. Yep. And when they're coming through these auction houses, I'm looking at them going, are people not seeing how good this is? This is a Bushmills from 1980s. This is a single cask from 1980s. This is a single cask rum cask from 1980s, a cask strength.
Yep.
What are we missing here? Because the price here of that bottle, flipping, I say flipping, but it's not, because it's that long ago. That's not a flip. That's someone getting rid of it out of their collection, or it's been left in someone's drawer, and that's only going for maybe 200 to 300 euros. And yet its counterpart, its predecessor, you know, it's his younger sister, brother that's coming out just now is maybe double that. That's weird. Just people don't get it. You know what I mean?
No. Well, the prime example was the Moscatel one. I mean, the 2008 Moscatel. I mean, it was what, €100 retail. It's now selling €200-300. You know, in age wise, compared to you had two. You've the 75 or you have the 82 Bushmills Millennium casks. So they were 18-year-old single malts or 25-year-old single malts. Some of them single casks, as you say, and they go peanuts compared to it.
Yeah.
They go less than what this stuff's going for.
It is mad. It is mad. But I think that's something interesting. You have created, whether or not you know it, but you've created your own kind of market as well. Because actually, what we didn't have here in Ireland, we didn't have those on the ground or on the internet, but on the ground, auction houses solely specifically looking at whiskey. Whereas we had that from Scotland. We had the two big houses in Scotland, and you had the two major ones in England operating, and obviously the guys out of Germany. So they've been well established, selling for a long time, had created a big, massive, worldwide exposure.
Market.
And yet, some of those auction houses are flooded with things that aren't just whiskey. There's a lot of other stuff which kind of creeps in there. In fact, there was one time when one of those auction houses, there was more wine going through it than it was whiskey. And I thought to myself, no, do you know what? Specialising. So the idea, even the name, I know that you've now moved in and, we've got Japanese whiskey going through it and Scottish whiskey going through it. We've got different whiskies going through it. But actually, it's Irish whiskey auctions. If you really are concerned about finding yourself some Irish whiskey, the first place I would be going is Irish whiskey auctions. I wouldn't be going to the Scottish, equivalent. I'd be going to Irish whiskey auction. And you've created your own base. You've definitely created a fan base locally in Ireland who are trusting of you, who can see that these bottles are, moving around. And what we're noticing from social media, which is really good, is that people are accepting, I've went and bought such and such from my Irish whiskey auctions, look at my Friday delivery, this is great, pulling it out the box, and then they're opening up their bottles. Now, that's great to see. So you have created, whether or not you understand it, but you've created a whole army of people who are like, here, I'm going to Irish whiskey auctions next month. I want to see what they've got. I don't have maybe such and such in the collection. That's okay. I actually have lots of these red breasts, but I need another one because I need more drinking. So you actually tend to find yourself that someone who maybe bought one bottle went, hey, I need that, right? I really need that. But now I need one to drink. So they're going to hunt for the second one. They're going to go and look for more.
Here's a funny thing out of so from day one we have all the data of all the bottles that we've ever sold, so we know bottle numbers and everything else. Now we've had a bottle come back to us, and it was the first one I noticed a couple of months back. It wasn't, well, actually it was probably about 6 months ago now, but a bottle had come back to us that we'd sold previously, and it came back to us. So the initial seller came to us with the bottle, somebody else bought it, and then somebody else came back with the same bottle to sell. So obviously there must have been a trade done at some stage.
Wow.
That this bottle had changed hands. So it was just a mad thing that you're talking about, the bottles circulating and people drinking and all that. But the bottles themselves are circulating. So it was part of an exchange somewhere at some stage for either a deal or something else.
So that's really interesting. And there was a conversation I'd had, and I'm trying to remember, there's one of the whiskey auction houses in England, specifically on the west coast of England. So if people can read into that as to what they want, but there was an auction house. Have you
the postcode there, Paul?
Who apparently, and as the conversation was that they had marked, some of these bottles had been marked, now not marked by them, but had been marked by the seller. And the seller had marked the bottles, and the bottle, had managed to travel, and they had seen it coming back in and out of auction houses. So it was able to, this one bottle had travelled, within the course of like 10 years, had gone in and out of auction multiple times. And they were able to track it because he put just a thingy pen on it, like a night pen on it. And he'd made night pen in all of his bottles, so he knew like where they'd been. If he came across it again, So I think that's interesting that they can definitely circulate. You're going to see that, Anthony. You're definitely going to see that in bottles which have high demand, and demand insofar as that they command a price, and whether or not they're justified or whether or not the prices are justified, they're going to command the price. So you're going to see them coming back in because we are going to go, oh, do you know what? I've kept that for 6 months. I've noticed the price has gone up here. Let's put it back in.
But one of the things that you mentioned, you were on about the Waterford one earlier on, and I when people were having their rants about flippers and all that sort of stuff, and I've said this in videos that the videos that myself and Kate do. I've said I think an awful lot of people are accidental flippers because you buy a bottle with Waterford or with any of the distilleries or any of the brands, you buy it with the best of intentions of one, either drinking it, two, supporting the brand, and three, engaging with it. But all of a sudden you've got this bottle that you paid X amount for and it's now worth multiples of. Realistically, there's very few people out there who'll go, well, actually, do you know what? I'll drink that. I can trade that up for this or for whatever. I mean, if the same logic existed in everything else, if you could do that with a house, people do it with houses. What am I talking about?
Yes, they do.
Buy a house and it increases in value, and then you go up or you trade up to something else.
Yeah, no, they do. You're quite right. I'm just reading some of these comments because it's great to engage with lots of people. Mick McGuire saying it as it is. There's no correlation with the prices of new bottles and the taste. In fact, those that are maybe opening those 2020s that we talked about, they probably are buying it at X price and aren't opening it because they've paid so much money for it, which is a damn shame because actually I'm sure the 2020s are a very good drink. And I'm not gonna, we're not gonna have to worry about that. There's lots of people bigging you up, saying that IWA are 100% trustworthy, which is really nice. Some people,
that's Katie. They're referring to Katie there. They're not referring to me.
Gareth Spence, do buyers just feel that the old stuff has lasted this long without being drank? It'll be around, but this new limited release is going to disappear. Potentially, Gareth, and do you know what? That's potentially, but I actually think it's a little bit more than that. I think there's a little bit of naivety, and then there's a little bit of ignorance. So there's both, and I think people who are naive will see a bottle, being bought at such a price, maybe it's £100, and then they'll see it secondary market £200, and the naivety there would be to suggest that bottle is worth that amount of money, and that they could get that all the time, or it would go up all the time. And then the ignorance is looking at that older bottle and thinking, yeah, it's been around, and why would I trust that? Well, actually, that's ignorant. Go and have a look at the brand. Have a look at what's in that bottle. Have a look at the liquid. Spend time understanding those casks, the processes that we're going through. So, if you're interested about Middleton and you're interested about the likes of Redbreast and Redbreast through the ages, so the guys that Chris Hennessy and the likes taking you through a history of Redbreast, well then stop being ignorant. The information's there. Guys have put that information out there. We've talked about it long enough. Go back and read and listen to the conversation we've had at Belfast Whiskey Week, where we've tasted all these older bottles, and you've got a guy who literally breathes whiskey, talks whiskey daily, and the history of it, is telling you, oh my God, what have we just tasted? What was that? That was class. This is where this came from. This is the mash bill. This is what let's not be ignorant anymore. There's too much information out there. There's too much information because we're providing that information. We're doing as much as we can to let people know, what's going on.
There's loads of opportunity now, and you're after mentioning Chris and Waterford Whiskey and Irish Whiskey Society and the Aviators and all these groups now. There really is ample opportunity. I mean, even the Palace the other day done a release of their samples, not samples, a tasting kit, and so they're after doing another one this evening actually as well. Dick Max is doing it. Sky in the Ground's doing it. All these guys are giving everybody opportunity. You can phone up Finn and you can say, look, I want to taste something that most people, as you say, can't justify opening a bottle of. But there's Flash is doing it down in Revolution. You've all the spots, or you've all the MVRs. There's very few bottles, I think, that can't be tasted now in the Irish market. There's probably a few unicorns that aren't open. But I mean, other than that, most stuff can be tasted through Sky in the Ground, Dick Max, Palace, all these other places that are doing these tastings that you can buy a sample of. Yes, it's expensive, but that's the way it is now.
It might be like, I think that's quite interesting. The expense of how much you would pay to taste something which less than 20 people are going to taste.
Oh
So
yeah,
even
yeah,
on that alone, do you know what? It really takes you into that, and no offense, but it takes you into that bracket of people of high wealth. And what I mean is that they're people who normally are that lucky to try something that no one else gets to try. And yet, actually, I think the price point of tastings, which I've seen, are very, very approachable. In fact, you probably spend a hell of a lot more on one night out in Dublin. You probably spend a hell of a lot more on one, pub sitting after the rugby. You know what I mean?
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the
absolutely.
that's the reality here. And yet you're going to have the chance to taste something which no one's tasted in 50 years, 60 years potentially.
Yeah.
Tell me.
And that's exactly what you're after saying. It is, but it's justifying that cost. Most people
Mm,
don't equate that with what you're saying. Is that they're not, you know, to go out and spend, €100 on a bottle that you're drinking the same stuff every night, or to go €100 on a tasting kit where you're tasting five, six, different whiskies and experiencing stuff that just you when it's gone, it's gone. And I keep saying that out loud. Like, I mean, again, with oddball stuff, that there is only a few bottles of it left. When it's gone, it's gone. There's no
yeah,
Middleton aren't making any more 25-year-old pot still. I mean, that's it is there. It's gone. It's gone.
no, true.
Uh,
I've
Andrew,
just got. Oh no, you can talk about it in a second, but this is my third one. Two stacks. This is my favourite blend at the moment, which is the Blender's Cut Cask Strength, 65.15% alcohol.
that's a man's whiskey.
It is, and I'm gonna. That's my third one. I need a wee drink here. So you crack on with Andrew's point. Yes, go ahead.
He was saying about, do I see the prices leveling out, or will it continue to keep climbing? Irish whiskey was starting from such a legacy. Irish whiskey was starting from such a low point that it's only going to go up and up. It mightn't continue, you'd be a fool to say that it's going to continue at the current rate. But like somebody asked me today about the Middleton 2020, and my answer was, I don't ever see a scenario where it goes for less than what you paid for it. I just cannot envisage any scenario where it goes for less than what anybody paid for it. When it settles down, when stuff settles down, it may go to about 300, €400 a bottle, which is still, I mean, again, you ask a retailer, would they mind doubling their money on anything, if they were selling it? They'd take hand and all, but
They would as well. They would, and I think you're quite right. And that's a very interesting take on this, right? So the take is, I don't want someone just, and I mean, I'm not telling someone to do this, but I don't want someone just to think they have to go and buy a bottle of whiskey and for them to invest in that. I don't want that. I want people to go and purchase their whiskey and drink it because they want to drink it. But if you've managed to purchase that bottle and you're doing it for an investment purpose, you're probably thinking, right, am I selling just now? Am I waiting? But I do see the point, and I don't think it could lose its value, but based on the demand. So there's a demand. There's no once a bottle creates that level of demand. I got a wee bit shirty during the week there with myself, and I was kind of like, I was nearly tugging at myself, saying, "Stop it, Paul! Stop it! You're going to be very silly if you do this." Now, there was a bottle had popped up on your auction site, which was one of our Whiskey Week bottles, and previously there'd been a couple that had gone out to Scotland to some of the auction houses there very quickly after the festival. Now I cracked open. We only had 100. We only had 100 bottles for the festival, and I cracked open about 30 of them specifically for the actual event itself, and gave lots of people tastings. And the rest went on sale through Irish Malts, and fair play to the lads that went on sale there. And they were only supposed to be for people who really wanted the bottle. And what happened then was, as I say, 2 bottles went to Scotland and went on auction. Well, I didn't want them going to anyone else, so I actually purchased them back. And I paid over the odds, and I purchased them back. But hold on, then I seen your one on the Irish whiskey auctions there last week, and it got over €200, and I went, I'm not going to buy that back. I'm not even going to bid on that, because I don't feel that it's, I was shocked, physically shocked by that.
Half as much as I was.
Yeah, but I was just like, here, fair play. But I wasn't going to chase it. And I was pulling myself back saying, don't you dare, don't you even think about chasing that bottle. Do you know what I mean? But it's nice to see, I suppose, a lot of these, you talk about retailers seeing their money doubling, whatever it is, but it was actually nice to see the demand. There's a demand for that bottle,
Yes, and there's something that's been long debated. And I mean, again, every time a new release comes out, an in-demand new release comes out, there's always an outcry from people saying, well, it's not fair. Us whiskey tasters aren't getting it because the flippers will be buying it and they'll be flipping it on. And you sort of go, yes, to a point. I've had a recent experience of something like that myself. And you sort of go, yes, to a point. But surely when somebody pays for it, they're entitled to do whatever they want with it. There's no rules. And
Totally.
you can come from absolutely, the capitalist point of view of, that's the way of the world. You buy stuff, you sell stuff. That's the way of the world. But then you go from the pure whiskey, lover point of view, and you go, well, actually, not as many people are tasting that because that's after happening or whatever the case may be. But that's just the way of the world. There's nothing you can do to contradict these things at the minute.
Yeah. No, you definitely can't. And I think that, as I say, what got me was from that, I mean, the experience of these bottles going to Scotland straight away, I just wanted them for my own drinking habit. So that's why they got brought back. And again, I shared them out, so they got open.
But you have a history of doing that.
But
you look at the DC, which one? 28, 20?
20, yeah.
The 20. I mean, there was pig ignorance there on your behalf on that one. How many bottles did you buy in a single day? You bought 8 bottles in one single day just out of pig ignorance.
I was the leveler. I came in and said, here, stop pushing the price up. This is the price. I mean, I name another person in the whiskey family community who has managed to set a price point by challenging everyone and saying, listen, I'll buy them all at this point. Stop it. I'll buy them all at this point. Do you know what I mean? So I literally went out there and stopped that DC20 from going any higher. Now, it will go higher because I can't control it now. I can't control where it's going. But I made a point of that. People were just too quick to flip, and that annoyed me because I wanted people to drink it. So we opened them. We've opened. I think we've opened 3-4 of them. Do you know what I mean? And they've been open for tastings. So
you've flipped about. How many of them have you flipped? Like, I mean,
none.
You've sold a load of them.
None. I got pictures. I show you pictures.
What are you on about, Paul? I've sold 5 or 6 of them on your behalf. Don't be on about it.
No chance. He's talking shite. But what I would say, yeah, I dead on. I'm going to take a picture today. I'm going to go and find them. I'm going to hang them.
No, not a word about it. You can't. Do you want me to photograph the ones I've sold? Is that you want me to give you the photograph back?
Go ahead. I dare you. Because they're not mine. I've got mine numbered. Jamie was with me. Jamie has the numbers. He was with me.
Jamie is the number.
You know what?
Jamie, look on our website. They're all there.
Here, we've got for Belfast Whiskey Week this year, we've got bottles. So festival bottles, not just the one this time. So we've got bottles coming. And I think that's interesting because my idea is that we have a festival. There's a lot of people. I want to reach out to as many people as possible this year. Lots. And to do that, we need to see that it has its own festival bottlings. So you're going to see at least 5 different festival bottlings this year, and hopefully it's a wide range of whiskey that people can buy into. And again, the price points are right. They're not taking the proverbial. They're not someone making money from it. And if anything, we're supporting those distilleries. So whatever distilleries we are working with, it's really for them. It's not for the festival. It's certainly not for me. And I hope people get that.
Jamie reckons it was 800 quid a bottle.
Oh, Jesus, there you go.
Yeah, but what did you sell them for?
Did you not break one?
I hear. I saw. You're a cat. You're trying to catch me. You're a guy.
Yeah.
The bottle, I know.
It's one of the things about Belfast Whiskey Week, and again, that sort of you've caught me off guard a few times, is sending the stuff to Argentina, to Taiwan, to Australia, to Tasmania, to Canada, to Brazil.
Short of timber
We've
too.
literally sent it to all corners of the world, and it's one of the things that people sort of, why are we involved in it? My whole agenda with it, and again, I'm a smart person, so well, relatively smart. Katie doesn't agree. Is that the more people's hands worldwide that we can put Irish whiskey into, whether it comes through you, whether it comes through, whoever's whiskey it is, the more people that get to taste Irish whiskey, at some stage, we might factor Irish whiskey auctions, the business might factor on the rationing because they'll go, well, what else is there? Or maybe I can find, if they taste something from you and go, I'd love a bottle of that, and then we might be on the radar. So yes, I'm not, there is part of it we want to help and we want to be engaged with you. But then the other side of it is a business point of view that you're sort of going, the more people that can taste Irish whiskey, the more people that are tasting Dunvilles, Hinch, all these distilleries, all these new distilleries as well, and supporting them and creating jobs, and then they're going to have money to spend and they're going to be buying whiskey. And it just rising tide lifts all boats, and that's the way we've always looked at it.
No, we've got, look, I mean, I think, the way in which it travelled around the world last year was huge. The way we want it to travel around the world this year is pretty much the same. However, we're also going to be saying to people, if you live in a country and you want to collectively talk to people within your country and get involved, like there's a guy now in Australia who specifically will be a focal point. Stuff can go to him and it can be distributed, within Australia. That's pretty cool. Same with places in America. I want to see that on the East Coast. I want to see it on the West Coast. I want to see like collections, little hubs that people can have, relationships with. I don't want to, we're not setting up clubs all over the place. But what we're saying is, listen, there's a group of you here. Let's get lots of boxes out there. Let's get lots of tastings out there. Distribute them amongst your friends and your family and your drinking buddies. And that look for Belfast Whisky Week to partner with Irish Whisky Auctions is very, very key, because I'm all for more people drinking Irish whiskey, and more people who are involved in the auction will see more bottles circulating, which means that more people will get more bottles, and I'll have the chance, and there will be. I know one guy exactly from Australia who specifically has stuff in Australia, and he's like, he just doesn't know what to do with it, and I've kept on saying, send it to Ireland, put it in an auction, because it's stuff that people would be like, wow, what is going on? And it's stuff that's travelled to Australia.
America's a big one for us as well. We've worked hard now to get a bit of a two-way distribution going with America. So that's Mark in Singapore. Yeah, true. That's a big thing as well, because you look at the amount of old Jameson and as you said, the pre-prohibition stuff. I mean, realistically, most of that only exists in America. So it's getting that back home here to go into tastings, to go into people's collections or whatever the case may be. But it only exists in America, and it's working hard to get that stuff back here. So that's one of the things we're now receiving. I mean, it's crazy in the office. We're at the minute flat out trying to ship last month's auction, but the bottles are arriving now from next month. They're arriving from Germany, from Austria, from Sweden, and these Banyuls, Australia, America. They're all arriving in, and again, it's great that we can do these things and facilitate these things and circulate the bottles, as you say.
Listen, it's a very short program. I want to kind of finish up just now. Anthony, I want to say Sláinte. It's a Sláinte series, so Sláinte. And I want to say, listen, Sláinte to even, and quick read out there for Clay and Mark, Tomo. Listen, 100%. The support has been great. Thank you very much. Stuart Quill, good to see you. Jamie, cheers. Sláinte to the rest of you. And back on Monday for the crack. Anthony, good luck. Genuinely good luck. And we'll be speaking soon. All right. Sláinte.
Cheers, guys.